Hey guys, Loot Wizard here with another Soulforge video on Gems of War. It is the first day of the week, so here we are with a new event. It is Tower of Doom. We have a new Glory Shop troop, as well as new things in the Soulforge. So let's get to it. Let's go to the Soulforge first, and let's check out the weapons. Now, there is a new Doomed weapon out because it is the Tower of Doom event this week, but I do not recommend crafting it in here because it will cost 800 diamonds. You can get it in the event shop for gems, and that's the cheaper option to do it. And we'll look at it over there. So I'm just going to scroll down to the other craftable weapons in here for this week, and that is the Ragereaver and the Primal Axe. Now, both of these weapons are mana generating weapons. The Ragereaver is a little more rare than the Primal Axe, and I would say it's probably the better weapon to go with, because it's very useful with the Guardian troops for the Tauros troop type. And so this weapon deals some splash damage, then it creates 4 red gems boosted by Tauros allies. And that boost ratio is 3, so we can have like a 12, at least 12 red mana here being created. Sometimes a little bit more, but it only works with the Tauros allies. So, but there are these Guardians, and I do have a team already set up for it. We're going to go take a look at that after we look at the Primal Axe here. This is another mana generating weapon, and it's based on the Wild Plains allies. Now, some of those Wild Plains troops are going to be Tauros, but they're not all Tauros. However, this weapon is going to create green and red gems for each one of the Wild Plains allies. Now, I would say don't craft this weapon unless you have Ketris the Bull, because that mythic troop is in that kingdom, and it uses both green and red gems to power up. So if you don't have Ketris the Bull, I wouldn't craft this weapon. I mean, even if you do have Ketris the Bull, it's still a questionable weapon to craft. However, this weapon's going to be the best with Ketris the Bull. Now, these two weapons here, let's go take a look at a few of these teams that I already set up here. We'll get into some of that. I already had a team that are selected. We'll get into in a few minutes. But here is the Ragereaver team. Now, this is the Shaman class is considered a Tauros troop type. So if you go to your classes, you can look at the Shaman here. It will, in class info, it will say here it is a Tauros, which is very important because that will allow you to generate more mana when you have this class equipped. Now, the other good thing about this class is that if you do have its traits fully unlocked here, Bullish Vigor gives all Tauros allies 50% mana start, which is really, really good for a weapon like this that is a mana generating weapon, because it will allow you to generate that mana so much faster. Now, here's the team. We have Ferocity is the Guardian troop for the Tauros troop type. And once you fully trait these Guardian troops, which I do recommend to do that because these are some of the most powerful troops in the game, it will give 4 to all skills of that troop type. Here's Tauros allies when matching 4 or more gems. It also reduces damage from skulls by 50%. Now, in each one of these attacks for these different Guardians are a little bit different, but they're all very powerful. This one will do damage to a random to an enemy and a random enemy boosted by this troop's life, attack, and armor. If the enemy uses red mana, deal double damage. So this is a very good troop. I do also recommend meddling these troops as soon as possible just to get that extra boost of health, armor, and attack. But they're not that expensive to meddle because they're considered common troops. So it shouldn't take you too many medals to make that happen. Now, the thing that's really great in this team for the Ragereaver weapon is that it will generate red gems boosted by Tauros allies. All of these Ferocity troops are red, so there's really no mana blocking here for the weapon either, so you can power that up very quickly. For the banner, I use double red brown, so you have 1+ to brown that can go to the weapon to fill it up, but then you have that double red, which will allow the ferocity troops to really get full once you cast the weapon. But on every 4 or 5 match, when you have 3 of these in here, this bonus of 4 to all skills is going to be tripled. So you will be gaining 12 to all skills. That's 12 points to attack, 12 to armor, 12 to life, and 12 to magic. So all of it is going, every single 4 or 5 match you get, that's just going to increase those power of those troops so much. And this weapon is going to allow you to constantly do that. So Ragereaver weapon is really good with this team setup. So that's why I would recommend crafting it if you can afford to fully unlock the traits on these ferocity troops, because that's where it really shines. Now you can, in this team, let's say, let me look up Ketris here really quick. Ketris the Bull is a Tauros troop, and it will also gain a little bit of bonus to its attack, armor, and life when you match red gems. So, and that increases its damage too, because its damage is boosted by its attack, life, and armor. Also, it's Ketris the Bull here does damage based on its attack, life, and armor. Now, I know I just said that, but I'm going to make a point here is that these 2 ferocity are going to increase 4 to all skills on a Tauros allies. So these 2 guardians are going to increase the stats of Ketris the Bull every 4 or 5 match, and that's going to make Ketris the Bull even more powerful than it currently is because it'll be adding all the stats. Alright, so the next team is the Primal Axe, and for the banner on both of these teams, I'm using the Meteor banner. So that's something to take note of. Now, the Primal Axe I don't think is as useful as the Ragereaver. It will generate green and red gems boosted by Wild Plains allies. So you have to go to the Wild Plains Kingdom. If we go in here, scroll all the way to the bottom, Wild Plains, and we look at what troops are in here. Now, the troops were restricted basically to red and green because that's what this weapon is generating. So if we go here, we'll just select red and green. And these are the troops basically that we are restricted to use this weapon. Now, I already have a team set up here, but like I mentioned in the Soulforge, if you do not have Ketris the Bull, I wouldn't really suggest crafting this weapon. And like I said, even if you do have Ketris the Bull, and let's say you don't have Ragereaver or the Primal Axe, I would say get the Ragereaver because it's much more useful with those Guardian troops, because those are not considered Wild Plains troops, but they are considered Tauros. So that's what I would say about that situation there. And going back to the Soulforge, so that wraps up my thing here on the weapons. I would say Ragereaver is definitely more important than Primal Axe. Alright, now moving to troops, and as always, I skim through the summoning stones here really quick just to see if there's anything worth trying to craft in there. For blue stones, we have nothing really good. For green, okay, so Greed is a very important troop for later game gold teams, and since he gains gold based on his life, it's important to try to get him to Mythic Ascension. So if you don't have him fully ascended to Mythic and you kind of want to just get that over with Greed, you could try to use some stones for that. Apothecary is really good. If you don't have Apothecary, I would, probably bet a few summoning stones here on trying to get it. Because if you're, let's say you're like somewhere between level 500 and 1,000, and for whatever reason, all the keys that you've opened, you have not gotten Apothecary, I would say it's probably worth spending a few jewels to try to summon it, because it's one of the most important mana generators in the game for brown teams. It transforms a selected mana color to brown, cleanses all allies, it's immune to stun, poison, disease, death mark, devour, all that good stuff. Tulieo here is also a really good mana generator. If you don't have it yet, you might want to try to get it because it really is good. It will enchant all allies of a chosen color, and then it gives them 6 mana to them, boosted by the gems of that color. So really good troop here, especially in elf teams. If you have Yao and if you have Ragereaver Weaver, things like that, all that use green color, you can really get that team powered up and moving. Works good too with Essence of Evil weapon, because if you have a full green team and this is the only yellow troop in there, you can just focus on yellow, get it powered up, and then select the green color here, and you can enchant your entire team and give them mana. So that's a really good troop. For Red Day here, yeah, nothing really. You have a few event troops like this, but other than that, there's really nothing important in there. For Yellow Day, it doesn't look like there's anything there either. For Purple Day, nothing good here either in Purple. Well, there is a bounty troop. This is one of the better bounty troops. So if you don't have it to mythic status, maybe, but I don't know. It's like the third, in my opinion, it's the third or fourth best bounty troop. I use it almost every bounty event. What is the last one? Brown? Yeah, for Brown Day, I would say just pass on that too. Lord Ember is good as a mana generator, but not good enough to spend jewels on it. Okay, so let's get into our legendary and mythic troops that we can craft this week. So we have Draculus as a mythic troop here. Draculus is a life stealer. Now, stealing life is always better than just simply doing true damage, because stealing life is a type of true damage, but it means it bypasses the armor completely and it just hits the life. But this, it's stealing the life, so not only is it doing true damage, but it's taking life and adding it to itself so it can survive a lot longer. It also gains 8 life when you deal skull damage. Now, I've never really used this as like a tank troop at the top of the team, but there are some situations where I've used Draculus, and he has been pretty good. But I will say that it's not a top tier mythic. I wouldn't place it like in the top 10 or top 15. We have the Dragon Soul is a really important legendary troop in the game. If you don't have it, you might want to spend the diamonds to craft it. Because it's very important for getting souls. Now, you can make a soul team without the Dragon Soul and get souls just fine, but there's a lot of people in the game, including myself, that have used the Dragon Soul in past to farm souls with Pharaoh's Raw in order to get the Dawnbringer. So this will explode gems on the board. It deals 8 damage to all enemies, boosted by number of dragon allies. So it will do more damage if you have a full dragon team. But regardless of that, it'll gain 15 souls every single time that you cast it. So it's important to include it in a team where you have other troops that boost the amount of souls that you get. So let's go back here, and I have a Dragon Soul team already established here for you to take a look at. For me, I would go with a team like this. If you got Pharaoh's Raw, I would do Dragon Soul, Pharaoh's Raw, Azirus, and Pharaoh's Raw is going to give you the 150% bonus to souls, and Azirus is going to give you 50% bonus to souls, plus it will give you Magic Link, which means that you're going to gain extra purple, and we're already running a banner that's double purple, so you'll have 3 purple with Azirus. And finally, Umberwolf in the last spot will give you a Darkstorm at the start of every turn, which means there's going to be a lot more purple gems falling down on the board, which is great for exploding. So as soon as you get the Dragon Soul powered up and you cast it one time, it will explode gems. And with Umberwolf down here, it will create a lot of purple gems falling down, and you should get it all full. And then if you have Pharaoh's Raw, you can cast it to gain even more souls. Down here, it'll give 20 souls. Otherwise, you can just keep casting the Dragon Soul. And if you're just farming souls, I would say just go to Explore. So you can go to any of these kingdoms, go to Explore, select here. You can do difficulty 1 or 2, really low difficulty, and just use that team with the Dragon Soul, and you can farm souls that way. Now, if you don't have Pharaoh's Ra, I would say you could substitute it with a second Azirus, just because you'll get an extra purple there, and you'll get the 50% bonus to souls. So if you have 2 Azirus, you'll get 100% bonus to souls, and you'll have 2 bonus purple on top of the banner, and that'll make the Dragon Soul fill up even quicker. You could throw your hero in there, like the phylactery weapon is a good weapon to choose, to gain souls, but that's the gist and the basics of like a team for Dragon Soul, just for farming souls. So I just wanted to show that team to you guys. Now let's go back to the Soulforge, the troops. The Spooky Imp is in here. Not a bad troop. It is a troop that you can use with Vespira. Shabanu Vespira is a mythic troop that works really good with Spooky Imp. I've used it a couple of times. And because it gains 8 magic every time you do purple. So it increases its magic by a lot when you're using it with Shabanu. Also, we have the Scylla here as a legendary troop. I don't know if you guys can hear my alarm going off, but just ignore that. So Scylla is a legendary troop. I don't recommend crafting any legendaries. This legendary, I would say, it does have a lethal damage chance here of 25%. And submerge all other allies is useful in some circumstances, especially as a counter to troops like the Queen Beatrix and Gobtraffel. Those troops that can loop a lot with damage all types. If you submerge all your allies, they can keep casting and looping for hours and they won't do any damage to you. It's hilarious. I've done it a few times, not for hours, but for several minutes until they didn't have an extra turn, and then I was able to attack. But the other thing that's useful about Scylla is it will create a Bone Storm on 4 or 5 gem matches. So that's going to bring more skulls down on the board. Regular skulls, not Doom Skulls. But that's useful too. It's one of the only troops that creates a Bone Storm like this. Might be the only one that does it on a 4 or 5 match. So moving on here, let's cover the legendaries real quick, and we'll go on to the mythics. So Divinia is one of the most important support troops in the game. It's one of the best. I praise this troop a lot because it is amazing, and even at lower levels, because a lot of times like your magic is really low when you are a low level, and so if you do get Divinia in it, I don't know, for those of you that have watched some of my new account playthrough series, I did get Divinia early on, and I'm only like level 160, something like that. And the great thing about Divinia, even at a low level, is that it explodes all red gems, which gives you lots of mana generation. Because there's some exploders that will only explode a certain amount of gems based on your current magic. And if you're a newer player, well, your magic is pretty low, so you won't be able to really generate a lot of mana with those other troops. But this is a great exploder, so it's a great mana generator. It does cleanse all allies, and it does give them life, and that is also amazing. Cleanse is really important, and of course giving life to all allies, no matter how much, is really great. Its traits are really good too, so this is going to be expensive for a newer player because it is a legendary troop, so you would have to save up like 16, I think it's 16 arcane trait stones, which is a lot for a new player. But there is some really good stuff here. Immunity to Mana Burn, Mana Drain, and Mana Steal. Mana Drain and Mana Steal are some of the most annoying negative effects that troops can do to you. So that is amazing that it's immune to that. And then it will cause a random positive status effect on a ally on 4 or 5 matches, which is also really good because sometimes I'll be using Divinia and it'll just barrier my other troops on 4 or 5 gem matches. It'll give it barrier, or it will give it things like enchant, any of those positive status effects, bless and reflect, all that good stuff. So Divinia is probably one of the troops I would say is craftable as a legendary, as well as a Dragon Soul. So it's a little unfortunate that there's two troops that are legendaries in the Forge that are both troops that I consider to be craftable legendaries, worthy of crafting for the 800 diamonds. But yeah, so if you don't have the Dragon Soul, though, you should definitely get that because you're going to need souls to power up troops and improve your kingdoms and increase the power of your kingdoms. So that's my recommendation on legendary troops. I would say that Dragon Soul is probably more important for souls, but Divinia is also a really great choice to craft if you don't have it and you want to craft a legendary troop. So now let's move on to mythics. I already covered Draculus. Let's move down here to Champion of Anu. Champion of Anu is a good mythic, but it's not a like blow you away fantastic mythic. So this is one of those troops that is a great defender troop. It will increase all stats on blue allies by 1 at the start of each turn. So it's essentially adding 4 to all troops that are blue, because it's going to give 1 attack, 1 armor, 1 life, 1 magic. But it also does do silence, it does stun, it drains mana from an enemy if it's not immune. And then it will deal damage to them and all enemies below them. And this is a good damage type, because it's better than damage to all, even though it technically is a damage to all type. So for example, if the enemy team is all submerged, and you use the Champion of Anu's damage type here, you will actually bypass the Submerge ability, because Submerge will dodge a damage that's supposed to happen to the entire team. But since this isn't doing it automatically, you can effectively choose who you want to start the damage with, and then it does all the enemies below them. So you can just you can hit the first enemy even if it's submerged, and it'll hit all the other enemies below. So that is one of the reasons, that and the blue stats here. I do like Champion of Anu for those two things. Plus it does silence and it drains mana. So it's a good troop. It just doesn't have any way to generate mana for itself. So you do have to rely on some other source of mana generation. And it does have the same colors as Dawnbringer. So that can be a little bit of a unfortunate thing, because I've wanted to use Dawnbringer in the same team with this troop before, and it's just there's too much mana being blocked in there. But oh yeah, it is a human as well. So if you do have Saint Ostra, which is a legendary troop for the humans, you can include it in the team with this, and it'll start with half mana because of that, and it will also Saint Ostra will give life and armor and enchant all human allies. So Champion of Anu goes really well with Saint Ostra, I would say. And then moving on here to Champion of Guard. This is probably in the top 3 defense troops in the game. It might be, yeah, I would say it's within the top 3 defense troops for sure, because it has a high reduction from spell damage and skull damage. And there's not too many troops in the game that have a reduction to both of those at 50% or higher, and this has 50% for spells and 60% for skulls. Then, just like the Champion of Anu, it's giving 1 to all stats at the start of each turn, but it's for red allies instead of blue. But as you might have noticed here, Champion of Anu also uses red. This doesn't use blue though, but if you do include these two troops together, they will be Champion of Guard here will be giving 2 to all stats at the start of each turn on Champion of Anu, and that plus this will be giving 1 to itself every turn, so that's pretty good. But as far as its defense capabilities, the spell block here and the skull block with a 60% is really great. But the other thing that's really amazing about it too is that it will gain 60 armor. Well, it'll probably be less for someone who has less magic, but honestly, even at a base level, this is probably around 20-ish, 25, 26 maybe armor that it's going to give. And then it says if there's 13 or more skulls, give double the armor. So it's really amazing. Every time you cast this thing, it's just going to keep adding armor to itself. Now, the only bad side about that is that it can be defeated with true damage, because true damage bypasses the armor completely. But the other amazing thing about it is that it does create a mix of 22 blue and red gems. So, if you include this troop with Champion of Anu, it can act as a mana generator. So if there's a team for it, I would say Champion of Guard would be at the top as your tank, and then Champion of Anu below that. And then you could include something like Saint Astra. Now, I don't think this is... Yeah, this is human. Okay. So both of these troops are human. So if I was going to make a team with both of these troops together, it would be Champion of Guard at the top, Champion of Anu right under it, and then I would have Saint Astra in third spot. And then you could include some human class, either Plague Lord or War Priest, I think, is also human. And you can put a weapon down in that last spot. And that would be probably a pretty good, like, defensive team. So, yeah, they're not bad troops, but Champion of Anu, I would probably put somewhere, you know, around... I don't know yet. I don't want to say because I'm still working on my mythic tier list. And I know you guys are probably like, when is he going to come out with the mythic tier list? Well, actually, I probably should ask you guys this. I need your help to decide something about that tier list because I started making up teams. I only have a couple of them so far. But it's one of the things that's like slowing me down from releasing this tier list is I was thinking I wanted to have at least one, maybe two teams for each mythic troop that I show in the tier list. So it's not just like, hey, here's a mythic troop that I think is in the top 10, and now I don't show you a team at all of how to use it. So that's... I would like to know from you guys in the comment section for any of you that have listened to this video this long. This video is going to be a little longer probably than my normal Soulforge videos, but anyway, in the comments below, please go ahead and comment down below. Let me know what you think. Should I release the mythic tier list that I'm working on sooner without teams for each mythic, or should I work on it another few weeks and try to include, well, it might take me another month if I'm going to include a team for each mythic because there's like over 50 mythics in the game, and to include a team for each one, I have to go through and you know, make a team and then test it out because, of course, I don't want to like recommend a team and then it's like it's not a good team for that mythic. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below, guys. It would really help me out if I should just release my mythic tier list sooner without the teams and then maybe do a series afterward where maybe once a week I would show a team for a mythic troop. Maybe I could do that. You know, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. All right, so Champion of Anu, how I would rank it, I'm not really going to say yet, but I think it's somewhere down in like rank 15 or so. It's good, but it's not like you have to craft it. Champion of Guard, same situation. It's one of the best defense troops. Like if I was just doing a mythic tier list on what are the best defensive mythic troops in the game, the two immediately that come to my mind whenever somebody asks me that question is Stonehammer and Champion of Guard. So those are the two best defense troops in my opinion. They're definitely in the top like 3. So then let's go here to the final mythic troop, which is going to be the number 1 mythic troop. It took me this long to get to this. Wow. So my number 1 troop that I'm recommending to craft this week is Obsidius, because not only does it have some defense, it does reduce damage from skulls by 50%, so you can put it in the top spot and it will be a good defensive troop. But it will, one of the main things that I love about Obsidius is that it will stun all enemies on a 4 or 5 gem match. That is amazing. Stun is really great. Also, it has a ability here to summon a dust storm when an enemy dies, so that's further mana generation. But on top of its stun and its reduction from skulls, it has a heavy splash damage to a random enemy, and then it destroys a 5x5 block of gems, which is significant. You know, you don't really realize like how significant that is until you look at it. And destroying gems is better than exploding because destroying gems is if you matched them. Then there's a 50% chance for it to deal light splash damage, so there's an extra thing there. But since it basically can generate mana for itself because it's going to destroy that 5x5 block of gems. So yeah, Obsidius is my #1 mythic troop to craft this week. And my #2 mythic troop would probably be Champion of Anu. And even though Draculus it's okay, I would probably say Champion of Guard is a better craft before Draculus. So I'm going to go with Obsidius as #1, Anu is #2, Champion of Guard is 3, and Draculus is 4. As in the order which I would craft them. So Obsidius is great. Let me just go ahead and show you a team. Now there's lots of teams that Obsidius can go into. This is just one of them that you could use potentially. So this is a team with Obsidius in it. Let me just do a quick battle just to show you guys. And let's see. So I got a Leprechaun in here to explode the board. Sometimes you get lucky and you get a 4 match and it stuns everything. Now we got Gorgotha here, which if it was traded, it would reduce that damage from skulls by 75%, which is significant. Now since I have Laraza down here, it's conjuring a Madness Storm. So I'm getting all these 4 or 5 matches, but normally this would get stunned and then I wouldn't have to deal with that 75% skull reduction. So this probably isn't the best team to use with Obsidius, but it like shows you what's going on here. So whenever I get those 4 or 5 matches, you can see that I was getting all the enemy troops were being stunned. So now we have some red gems here though too. I'm going to convert those to skulls. And there you go. So that's just like a team I threw together right before this video just to show you like what, how you could use Obsidius. It's a really good troop. Really good. I really do like it. It's one of my favorite mythic troops to use. I think I'm going to probably place Obsidius within at least the top 15 mythics. At least top 15. So anyway, let's go to the shop real quick. This video is going on really long, longer than I thought it would. Anyway, so we have Bully Noel in the glory shop here. For 400 glory, we get 2 arcane lava trait stones. So that's a really good deal because some weeks, guys, we only get 1 arcane trait stone for 300 glory. So we're basically getting 2 arcane trait stones for almost the price of 1 on those 300 glory weeks. So I would go and I would look up the troops that have the red and what is this, red and brown, the arcane lava trait stones. You just got to go and go to your troop tab. Let me go back here real quick and just show you guys. Go to your troop tab, clear it all out, and you select red and brown, and then you should make sure you select all colors. And I like to do base rarity just so you can see the most important troops. So, the arcane trait stone color represents the gem colors. So red and brown, those are the colors for that arcane trait stone. Obsidius, one of the troops we were just showing, is going to require, if you go in here, traits, and mine are already traded so you can't see it, but those arcane trait stones, those lava ones would be used there. And then you can see all the different legendary troops here. So if you want to fully trait King Bloodhammer, King Highforge, Shegra, Gargoyle is really important to fully trait. Now is the time to do that. Ragnagord is important to trait for the 50% starting mana. Yeah, so there's a couple of troops in here like that you can fully trait. And this guy here you want to trait because this is like one of the best bounty troops. So you do want to trait this guy. So pick up a few of those extra trait stones in the shop here. I'm just going to buy enough to get this thing to mythic. And let me go back in here. We didn't even look at what it does. So this Bully Noel, right? Yeah, Bully Noel. Deals damage with a 50% chance to hit the wrong enemy. If the enemy uses red, deal triple damage. If the enemy dies, gains 16 attack. Kind of interesting that it's going to do triple damage if the enemy uses red, but I don't really like the fact that it has a 50% chance to hit the wrong enemy. It's kind of goofy. Probably won't use it that much. Anyway, let's go and check out the Tower of Doom. The last thing here, really, that I have to show you. Well, there's one other thing I'll show right at the very end, but this is pretty much the last major thing. So, this is the red color. So, we're restricted to red troops. So, let me go in here and just show you some of the main troops that I would probably use. Is Obsidius works really good with Mang, because you can transform a selected mana gem into a skull. So if you're using Mang as a weapon, which will be probably a pretty good weapon for higher levels in this event this week, then I would suggest using that. Divinia is a good troop for cleansing your allies' troops, generating mana, giving them life, all that good stuff. Teslas are, they do use red color, and they do true scatter damage, and it's boosted by all ally and enemy armor. So that's really good too. A team with that would probably be, you could use the Shield of Urskaya. It's a weapon in here that's a brown weapon. Right here. This will, at higher levels. Now, early on, you probably want to use a faster team, and using that weapon is not going to make your team fast. So, I would say, probably put something like Mountain Crusher in there to start with. Where's Mountain Crusher? Here it is. So, if you do something like this with Mountain Crusher, you can generate some mana, and then Divinia will generate mana too. Then you can get your Teslas going. They can do some damage. There's probably a team that does quicker damage early on, but you want to do a fast team for probably like the first like 10 levels. You could probably get by with doing just a quick team that's doing damage to all. And then you probably want to use something like I was showing with the Shield of Urskaya with a couple of Teslas. That works pretty good. Otherwise, you can use Mang and Obsidius. That's another option as well. So let's go take a look at the shop really quick. Yeah, so I'm going to buy up to at least the weapon. And what I think about this Doom weapon is it's not as good as the ones that create Doom Skulls. So this thing right here, this Doomed Maul, this thing will deal heavy splash damage to the enemy, which heavy splash damage is good. But this is very situational. It will stun all red enemies and cleanse all red allies. Then it will explode 4 gems. If it has a Doom, explode 3 more. So it's not the best Doom weapon. And the fact that it has 18 mana cost with only 1 color is kind of a downside to these weapons. But this might be a good counter weapon for like Guild Wars. You include this weapon on a team where it's like Red Day. And that way it'll stun all red enemies. That's one use for it, but I don't know. I probably won't use it that often. So we probably should go in and look at its upgrades, because if it does have like silence the first enemy on every cast, that might be pretty good. Doomed Maul, upgrade weapon. Okay, so it does not have a silence, but it does have burn the first enemy, and it also has create a firestorm, drain 2 mana from red enemies. That could be another useful thing for Guild Wars, using it as a defense weapon. Burn the first enemy, I could see where that could be useful with a Fireblade talent, but other than that, it doesn't have like any super amazing things going on with it. So that's kind of my suggestions for the Tower of Doom. Those are the troops and everything that I was talking about. That's kind of my suggestions there of what troops to use. And one last thing I want to show you. Wild Plains is the event kingdom this week. So if you do have a lot of event keys saved up and you really, really want Ketris the Bull, now is the time to try to get it. And I think Ketris the Bull is the only mythic troop for that kingdom. I think so. Let's check. Show all. Yeah, so Toro, the Catchers the Bull, is the only mythic troop for this kingdom. Chief Stronghorn isn't that good, and Hydra is one of the worst legendary troops in the game. Queen Moonclaw is not that great of a legendary either. So, yeah, the only thing you would be spending event keys for this week is trying to get Catchers the Bull. So, if you're trying to do that, good luck to you. I hope you do get Catchers the Bull, because it is a really powerful mythic troop. So, alright, this video has gone on long enough, and I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, so I'm going to get off here. So, hopefully, you guys enjoy the week and this event, and I'll catch you on the next video. Later.